Not exactly hidden. So the plan is that after Darechar takes control of the gigantic horror that would snack on megalodons, we conjure a bubble of air and keep renewing it as we use the giant beast to sneak up on the submarine base of the Orega girls. After that, we take control of security and post some bully boys in their evacuation routes to let Bryn Char unleash the beast. Yes? Is there something the matter? Why don't we just rent some kind of sub? I think I even saw someone that owned one designed to hunt Leviathans that we could probably commission the captain. Subs have an IFF and get pinged fairly easily. The base would be on the lookout for them. But it's in the middle of Leviathan country down there. So if we ride a great beast, we can instead effectively sneak up on the base on the back of a creature that could take a solid bite out of it. Quiet, he's coming back up. Bryn Char calls out and everyone crowds around the edge of the water. The coastline goes straight down into water so deep that the Leviathans are a risk directly below. It's maybe 50 meters at most before the things start actively hunting you, which is great for people looking for a solid meal, but hunting out of season or poaching can get you in a lot of trouble. Vernon had dodged a bullet in that Miro Noir has a license due to being a princess, and it was indeed in season. The water darkens, and off the coast Darechar rises from the water with a vicious grin on his face, and his arms crossed before the water below him erupts as a massive creature with enough fangs to qualify for having a forest of teeth. Along its back and the front of its maw are numerous phosphorescent patterns likely to lure prey in. We have got to get that kid a flying V and wrap him in spikes and leather. What? Bryn Char asks and looks back in incredulity. Oh, come on! That was awesome! Kids basically walked off a heavy metal album cover, is the answer Bryn Char gets, and he rolls his eyes. Hey, are you all coming or what? Darechar asks from on top of his gigantic monster. Some teleport and others jump, but at his call, the entire crowd lands atop the Leviathan. It's only a fraction of the main group. Most of the princesses are making sure that the smaller cells of Orega girls are being properly rolled over and arrested by the ladies whose lands they've taken refuge in, and of course, many sorcerers are going about making sure they get found to begin with. Regardless of how few of them are present, if things were broken down to basic math where 100 normal Apuk measured out to roughly one battle princess, then they still had enough force to bring to bear that there simply wasn't enough room in 3 enemy submarines to match them all. Especially once you consider that the average sorcerer is considered a match for a half-dozen princesses. Is everyone ready? Darechar asks, as the Leviathan slowly creeps back down into the water at his command. No one says a thing. Is that good or bad? It's good. We're just taking this seriously now. We're fine, Vernon says as he focuses and captures the local air and thinks. Then there's a whisper on the axiom followed by a roar, and a series of small needles made of the brassy-looking kutha fall into his palm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, these are your lifelines. If you get forced out into the water, it will keep you alive and safe. Stick them into your clothing and remember it in case of emergency. So, these will keep us from drowning? Bryn Char asks as he sticks his in, and Darechar outright refuses. It will keep a bubble of fresh air around you. You just need to run some axiom through and then breathe deeply. I also suggest using it in general. The water down there will squeeze with the force of a mountain on all sides and freeze so badly that you'll go into shock fairly quickly. If you're not ready for a deep ocean trench, then use the pins. I'm outright eager for it. Which reminds me, could you exclude me from the bubble you're going to be making on the way down? Darechar asks, and Vernon nods as he finishes handing out the needles. His own is stuck in the collar of his shirt. The Leviathan dives down and the sea rushes in before washing around of them. In moments, they're balancing somewhat at the sheer angle the beast is diving at as a massive bubble of fresh air keeps everyone, but Darechar dry and breathing easily. In moments, the light is almost entirely gone with only the twisting pale blue blurs along the Leviathan, several of them twisting under them. They step off the twisting marks so as not to break the pattern. Everyone looks up as another Leviathan, this one with tentacles, passes by overhead. One of the tentacles brushes against the bubble and Vernon frowns as he watches it skid off the barrier he set up. There's an outright field of sharp horns on the underside of those tentacles. This thing could flay a whale alive in seconds. I wonder how it tastes. Vernon, it's not hunting season in this part of the ocean. Miro Noir chides him. It's aquatic. Wouldn't that make it fishing and not hunting? Koga asks, as he watches the large creature fade into the distance. It has a slightly more jagged pattern than the more crocodile fish monster they're on now. He needs to test the local grain and seaweed, see what could be used to make sushi. He wonders how some of these beasts would taste with wasabi or soya sauce. He shakes his head and refocuses, adjusting his glasses as he feeds a little axiom into his eyes to increase their sensitivity and open them up to a slightly wider spectrum of light. The continental shelf may break off terrifyingly close to shore, but it's not the deepest point. He understood this geographically from his studies. But to see the trench below open up like a great yawning blackness is absurd. Even more absurd are the schools of smaller leviathans, each one moving silently and without phosphorescent markings to keep them hidden from the larger adults. Apparently, evolution had caught up to the abominations that had been made out of several species in the past. Rumor said the hybrids were cannibals. Evolution seems to agree. Otherwise, why else would the juveniles be hiding? Vernon, Brinchar says as the slight sensation of the woods increases as they go down and down. There is no longer any natural light from above. Only the glowing animals and plants along the sides of the trench are visible. Yes? Vernon asks as he continues to focus on the bubble. Keep my son away from what I'm about to do, he says, and Vernon opens his eyes to regard him fully. You once offered to place the cameras and help with my revenge. I want you to keep it pure instead. This is between me and the Orega girls. Darechar is innocent. That he's done this much already leaves a foul taste in my mouth. I understand. I'll keep him out from the inside of that sub. Vernon promises and Brinchar nods. I can hear you guys, Darechar says from the water. Brinchar freezes with his eyes wide. I'll stay out of the stupid underwater base, Dad. You could have just said to keep out. This is a side of me I don't want to show you. What I'm about to do is something I hope no child or grandchild of mine ever does, Brinchar says as he focuses axiom through the needle and walks out of the bubble to stand right beside Darechar. Yeah, I get it, Darechar says, looking forward at the tiny speck that's slowly growing larger as some sound he can't quite hear is bothering his Leviathan somewhat. I truly hope you don't. I truly hope you will never understand. This is an old, unhealing wound. It's been over 600 years and I still don't feel better. It still hurts. It will never not hurt, Brinchar says, matching Darechar's gaze and trying to find the proper words for things. I've seen the movies, Dad. It can't be that bad. Darechar says sulkily as he takes in a deep breath of the salt water and feels his natural axiom patterns and the gills along the sides of his torso work in tandem to clear his mind. It's worse. The worst that the movies show is some goofy little statue with a bucket of fake blood thrown on them. The ones that got closest are the ones that showed nothing, those that let your mind wander at what I could have done. Yay. You break every bone in their bodies, and only after the pain has taken them, you rip off the head and do goddess knows what to it. Darechar dismisses. It is so much more than that. Look, I know that I've only recently been part of your life, and you want to really know what it means to be the son of Brinchars, whatever that's supposed to actually be. But it's not what I do, it's the way I do it. This is personal to me. Deeply and brutally intimate pain. I would give this suffering to no one and nothing else. I've given it to no one and nothing else. I don't even like the idea that the people at large are even vaguely aware of this. The reason I go along with it most of the time is because the stories, the movies, and what I'm about to do next will all serve to scare the more stupid and reckless away from lives like this. Away from me. I'm a monster, my child. For many, I am the monster that keeps them from hurting others. And you don't want to be a monster to me. To any of my family, not to you, not to my daughters or granddaughters, not to my wives, not to my nieces or your distant cousins, not to my surviving sisters or aunts, not to the people in my life. Then why are you doing this? Why not let it go if you hate it so much? Because it's not that I hate it, or that I deny being a monster, it's that I want my monstrosity to be for those that deserve it. You don't, and to be frank, those that do don't live long. So it's not that you're about to kill them. It's not about that you're making this personal or disgusting or slow or anything. It's that you don't want that in my life. Great. Damn it, you're charred to the bone. This is me being selfish and hypocritical, yes. I want to keep the dirty, rotten, painful, and cruel things in my life away from the things I really like. You, for instance. Then why are you letting me get this close? You're both a char and a teenager. The more I try to keep you away, the more you're going to try and be a part of this. So you're in until this last dirty moment, and I'm trying to reason with you. I can handle a little blood, Dad. I'm a carnivore. I'm a puck. I like my meat raw with little tongues of flame to cook it while it's in my mouth. I know you like eating campaigner style. I do. This is something else entirely. It's so much more than blood. It's bile, too. Intestinal fluids, half-eaten food, urine and feces, brain fluids and tears, and the raw marrow, shattered bones and torn flesh, all mixing together in a bouquet beyond anything you've smelt before. Brinchar half whispers and Darechar gags at the thought. Exactly. The movies and basic descriptions can't even begin to describe the kind of hell that's about to happen. The sounds of it give normal people nightmares, and the sight alone drove several Orega girls to suicide in sheer terror. Either that, or they knew there was no escape and didn't want to suffer. How bad is it? Horror movies never come close to the real deal. They can't. Only sociopaths or the psychotic truly take joy from this kind of thing, and that's something I've learned to accept about myself. I don't understand, Darechar says, and Brinchar sighs. Part of me hopes you won't for a while yet, but if I don't explain this right, you'll try to figure it out. All right, in movies and written form, there are a lot of details that are left out or missed, often for the sake of taste. Even realistic horror movies put aside a lot of details, death rattles being one of them. Death rattles? Not important, but it's something missed. Missed deliberately because it's a weird and deeply unsettling quirk of death. It's too close to the mark and therefore not entertaining. Yay, but there's also the fact that I'm not going in there to fight them or kill them. Fighting implies they have a chance. Killing implies a level of distance or ambiguity. Then what are you doing? Murder. I'm going in there to murder them. Murder is never a good thing. Even if you can justify it, it's still evil. I'm going into that underwater base and I'm going to do something completely evil. To evil people. That doesn't make my actions any more right or wrong. But you're stopping them from doing horrible things and punishing them for what they've done. Yes, I am. Almost anyone you ever meet, no matter the race, will tell you that it's a righteous and glorious thing to do, to bring retribution and stopping evil. Those people have never had blood on their hands, be it guilty or innocent. And those that are happy about it, those that get excited and not because of the fight or the challenge, be careful around them. Be very careful around them. You enjoy it. In the sense that a man who's injured getting treatment enjoys it, yes, this is like lancing a pustule or a boil. Painful, disgusting, and the absolutely best thing I can do. I am broken, my son. I've learned to cover the break, but I need to let it air at times. now is such a time. This isn't fair. You're not going to stop them from watching, from seeing this or even taking part in this. Why am I being kept away? Because you're my son. You've only known me for 6 months. So, Brinchar snaps back and the air bubble expands to include them both. They turn to find Vernon glaring at them both. Both of you shut up and act like you're older than 5 years old for a few minutes. This conversation is for later because we got work to do now. Brinchar, are you still up for this? Vernon demands, and Brinchar nods with a huff. Darechar Crushclaw, are you willing to keep this beast close? The whole complex has gone into silent running to avoid its attention. We can use that. Yes. Good. As requested, I'll be staying with Darechar. Koga, you and Hilgjude are on the security room. Brandon, find and shut down all the life pods and anything designed to help them escape. Trash it all and don't bother with subtle, just don't be seen otherwise. Vernon orders, and there's nodding. Beyond that, this is your horror show, Brinchar. Just as agreed. Yea, as agreed, if you'll excuse me, Brinchar says before vanishing with a crack. In moments, the sensation of the wood increases within the base. Much more, and they'd be able to get in from anywhere on the planet. With me, miss, Koga says, gently taking Hilgjute's shoulder and vanishing with her, as Brandon seems to wink out of existence as well. Everyone else is on evacuation and protection. I have no doubt in my mind that there's at least someone in there kidnapped. We need to find them yesterday and get them to safety. Go. He orders, and the rest of the sorcerers vanish like the shinobi that Koga was trying and often failing to teach them to be, leaving him and his Miro Noir alone with a sulky teenager to rain on their parade. You know, it was quite exciting to hear you take charge like that, Miro Noir whispers into his ear from behind as her arms warp around him. Oh? So you like the look of Vernon in charge? He asks, and Darechar rolls his eyes as the sap returns.